Today, I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth.
You are now listening to the Behind the Mic radio show from the Cheap Seat Sports Bar and Grill in Champaign, Illinois. Presented by Ford of Tuscola. Here's your host, Keith Gibson.
Welcome, everybody, to the Behind the Mic show. I am your host, Keith Gibson, and alongside me, as always, the 15-minute world champion, the man who, maybe the only man ever to blow off a convertible top during the homecoming parade, the great one, Sam Erwin.
I left my mark. That's all that matters.
You did. You left a lot of things. Left a lot of things in your pants. But anyway, hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm all right. I'm on vacation this week. Getting some little R&R, little staycation. So, yeah, getting a lot of things done around the house, getting some quiet time, a lot of PlayStation, a lot of WWE Network. You know what? I'm enjoying myself.
Nice. Yeah, this past weekend went with good friends Brent and Lauren Johnson, and Lauren's sister Lindsay was there as well. We went down to Nashville, which is obviously an awesome town, very expensive town. But we had a great time and saw Eric Church in concert. Hadn't seen him before.
Great choice.
Yeah, it was. He's good, but it's 4 hours long.
That's a long show.
That's a long show. But he, 56,000 people there, and he's quite talented. So
like us.
Yeah, good weekend. Well,
like
not
us.
like us. I mean,
Damn.
not as talented as us, but he's caught a couple breaks. You know how it goes. We have just caught a break in.
Hey, I know you're excited. We got a big show today. We have a huge show. We have, as a huge Florida Gator fan, I think most people know that. If not, they do now. We have a former Florida Gator, Longsnapper, Drew Ferris, going to join us today to talk about how he became a Florida Gator, how he met you,
right, and
which is unbelievable story in its own, and what it's like going through that process. And it's going to be a two-part interview, so I'm excited for that, to him have to sit down with us. I know you got to be giddy.
Oh, man.
Like a schoolgirl, aren't you?
I am. I'm like a little girl all over again. Reminds me of my youth. But no, I don't do a lot for this show, as we know.
True statement.
I'm basically comic relief. I don't do any research. I just wing it. I'm basically a younger, more handsome Stu Gotts, basically is what I am. And I just wing it. But with this one, when I bring a guest, when I put forth effort, boy, do I bring a good one. So, and I even did research. I'm prepared. Man,
you did some work.
I did feel good about myself.
We'll see how good a work that is later.
Yeah, we'll see how it pans out.
Hey, we're gonna change things up a little bit. We're gonna start the show off with our Mount Rushmore of what is it this week? It's NBA centers, right?
Centers, that's right, NBA centers.
So the NBA finals going on right now, and I'm sure you and I will cover that in our Fast Five later on in the show. We're gonna talk about the NBA finals. We're going to sit down with Drew for about a 15 to 20-minute interview. First part. Next part will be the second part will be next show. So make sure you tune in on both shows. Listen to podcasts, Apple iTunes, available there. CheapSeatsBar.com and Stitcher on the app there, Google Play. You can find us everywhere. If you aren't listening to us, you have no excuse not to listen to this show.
That's right. That's exactly right. And you know what? It's talent. It's humor. We talk about sports. There's a little bit of everything. Lasts about an hour. When you drive around your car, give us a listen. It's a nice way to pass an hour of your day.
That's right. So, and who doesn't want to listen to us talk?
You would for your wife mostly.
Well, yeah, true. That's a true statement. True statement. But, hey, let's get into our Mount Rushmore of NBA centers. And I think you and I may agree on some.
Right.
But I think we might disagree on a couple of them. So I want to start with my number one, okay?
Oh, you're starting at the top, working.
I'm going to start at the top and work my way down because I think I think our top one or two we may agree on. Maybe we both of us on the same list. I think 3 and 4 we may disagree a lot.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so my number.
And in my case, you'll find out. In my case, you'll find out 4 and 5 was a tough one for me. Very tough. Might be for you too. It gets difficult when you get down.
It does. You get past that 1 and 2, it gets kind of difficult. On that cusp, they're always this close. Always.
That's
always. But anyway, I'm going to start with my number one.
Okay.
He scored 100 points once. Oh. That was Wilt Chamberlain. He's my number one.
Okay.
It's hard to disagree with Wilt as a top 4.
All right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's a good choice. I mean, the man, my God,
is he on yours?
He is on my list.
Yes. I knew it.
He's not number one, but he's on my list. Absolutely.
Okay.
But to talk about Wilt, I did some research here. Averaged in his career. Now think of this. This is just amazing. 30 points, 23 rebounds over an entire career. Night after night after night, putting up numbers like that. I mean,
but he was a foot and a half taller than everybody.
Well, that's not his fault.
That's right. It's not, but that's how you do that.
But hey, he played against Bill Russell, who I'm sure we'll talk about, one of the greatest defenders of all time, and they went head to head many times. So he still, had some success there. Also with Wilt, as in doing some research, as I said, over a 2-season span, so 2 years straight, he averaged 47.5 points a game.
That's pretty impressive.
And he had 20 rebounds a game for 12 straight seasons.
Wow.
12 straight years of 20 a game. The most people get now are like, what, 12, 13, something like that?
In a game. He averaged.
Every game. He averaged it for 12 straight years. So that's a pretty good pick for number
why he's
one.
my number one.
Pretty good pick. Now, my number one goes to the man with the greatest, most unstoppable shot in the history of the NBA, the sky hook, one Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And the reason I say that is out of the centers, okay, he was a 6-time MVP, brought the Milwaukee Bucks the title, obviously ended up going out to L.A. where he had a lot of success with Magic, James Worthy, Byron Scott, all those guys. Loved watching that team.
Showtime,
baby, yeah. And also he ended up with 6 titles. Of course, he played with a lot of talent in L.A., of course, but he definitely did his part. All-time leading scorer in the history of the NBA. Once again, that shot, nobody could ever. And why no one else shoots that anymore, I do not know, because it's
no touch.
I guess so, but practice the thing, But anyway, 19-time All-Star and 10-time All-Defense. 19-time All-Star. So
I need a drink because you've done more work in the first 10 minutes of this show than you've done in the first 7 episodes.
I'm telling you, it just takes me a little bit to get going. But boy, once I get going, watch out.
Mercy.
That's why I picked Kareem. I mean, the longevity and obviously the all-time leading scorer. He was a great defender as well. So that's why he's my number one.
Well, Kareem's on my list too. So, and Wilt was on your list, right?
Yep.
I'm going to guess the next guy I mentioned is, and great stats, by the way, fantastic. I don't even have to talk. All I have to do is say, there's a first for me. I don't have to do much. Mercy. So I'm going to tell you another guy. I'm pretty sure he's probably on your list too, and that's Bill Russell.
Okay.
Is Bill Russell on your list?
Oh, absolutely.
So see, multiple championships with the Lakers, or the Celtics.
11.
11. 11. Yeah, that's.
11.
I mean, those 3 should be on every single person's.
Without a doubt.
Top 4. You may not be number 1, 2. They may vary what position you have them in, but
right.
Those 3 they're 3 of the greatest centers ever. Now, here is where, Sam, we have a little bit of fun because our 4th, you've got a long list of centers you can put at number 4.
Right. Well, we got to talk about my number 2. My number 2.
Well, no. Hold on here because I think we'll vary here.
Oh, okay.
But you see what I'm saying? Those 3 guys are both on both of our list.
Right. Absolutely.
So we have one guy each.
We do.
And I don't think my guy is going to be on your list.
You may be right. Who do you have, sir?
My number 4 may surprise some people.
Okay.
I'm going to go with the Dream.
Ooh.
Hakeem Olajuwon.
Yes.
I was a big fan of just consistency year after year after year. Won an NBA Finals, just won. That's right, the Dream Shake. Mm-hmm. I loved watching the Dream. I thought he just did his job. He was quiet and consistent throughout his entire career. He's a Hall of Famer. Yeah. That's why I put the Dream there. I loved watching him and Clyde Drexler when they both came to Houston. That was a fun team to watch. Robert Horry was there. Big Shot Bob, as people like to call him. I liked Horry. I just like that team a lot. I like Olajuwon. He was out of Houston. Came to play. So that's my number 4, which may shock some people. They're thinking, this guy's an idiot, which would be the first time someone thought that.
I don't think that's a bad choice.
If you put yourself at number 4, I'm done with the show.
Didn't play center. I can't do it. I can't include myself this time. I didn't include myself. I thought about putting in from Xenia grade school back when they had basketball up to 8th grade. One Billy Hickey. I mean, that guy was a dominant force. He was like 6'8" or 9. in 8th grade. And,
Wow.
yeah, amazing. But nevertheless, to keep it somewhat serious this week, my guy who you didn't have on your list, which I was kind of surprised with because we actually got to, watch him be as dominant as he was, Shaquille O'Neal. Okay, I had him, and actually I had him because he was so just the most dominant player I've ever seen. Physically imposing, so dominant. And the way he could move, as big as he was. Because here's my thing: you put him up against Kareem, even Russell. Russell wasn't as big, as we know. I mean, he wasn't like 7 foot tall or anything
Right.
like that. But you got Shaq at 7 foot tall, 300 plus pounds, muscle. I mean, he was just a monster. And I remember watching him when he was in college, and I'm like, my
At
God,
LSU.
who is this LSU? And who is this freak? I think Curtis Lee, probably from Florida, still has nightmares about having to play against him in the NCAA tourney whenever they did, because that was, the guy's just a monster. Then he got to the pros, and in fact, he did lose to Olajuwon in the finals, I do believe. Now,
That's
granted,
correct.
he was
95.
very young. Yeah, he was very young. Obviously, the Rockets were loaded. What a great team with some veterans as well. But Shaq ended up having a phenomenal career. I think he ended up with 5 titles, I do believe, with several different teams. He had 3 with Kobe and the Lakers, and then he had one with Dwayne Wade, and then was it 5 or was it 4?
Oh.
I feel like I'm leaving one out, but
anyway. Did he win one in Cleveland with LeBron?
No.
No?
Shaq was past his prime by then.
He didn't win. He didn't win any. He didn't win any in Orlando, correct?
No, didn't win any in Orlando.
They got to the finals, but he never won one because Nick Anderson missed free throws.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Free throws are definitely not his thing.
Hey, you know what, Sam? Free throws win ball games.
Yes, they do. Larry McGrew taught us that. Absolutely.
That's right.
Mercy. But no, that's why I picked Shaq, because he was just so incredibly dominant that all you had to do was get the ball down there. And, I mean, who's stopping him? And once again, he won. He played defense. He could run the floor. I mean, my God, somebody that big, he could play point if he wanted to a lot of times, but he was able to run the floor on fast breaks, and he was just incredibly dominant. So that's why I had to go with him, because he was just so unstoppable. So
Shaq was on my honorable mention list of 2 or 3.
Yeah, that's where Olajuwon was for me. Olajuwon was tough for me on 4 or 5 because I could have interchanged Wilt or Olajuwon either way. And
I could have put David Robinson right up there too as well.
Yeah,
the guy who quietly was a Hall of Famer and one heck of a nice guy who I've got to watch the basketball with a couple of years back in the NCAA tournament. And I got his autograph here in the cheap seats.
That's right.
So very nice guy, but also just a great player in his career. There's been so many great centers. What bothers me now is I don't see one in the NBA that could even touch any of them.
The game has changed, my friend. It's all about three-point shooting, and really a center is like Boogie Cousins. They don't even use him. He's been hurt again, but the game has changed. So now what do 7-footers do for a living? They don't even need him in the NBA, so it's like, I don't know. So they got some guy coming out of, I want to say University of South Florida, University of Central Florida, one of the two. First name's Taco.
That's right, Taco Bowl.
That's right. And he's getting ready to turn pro, and I think he is 7'5".
Correct. He's got an 8.5 foot wingspan.
Right. Taco. So
Sam, one of his arms is almost as tall as I am.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Amazing. So how do you get a shot in on him if you drive inside? But once
he's not very big, though.
Oh, he's a pretty good sized guy.
He's pretty lean.
Well, I mean, for a 7'5" guy, he's got some meat on him.
No, that's true.
All bones.
So honorable mention. We could have went Robinson. We could have went, either way with Olajuwon and Shaq.
Moses Malone.
Lonzo Mourning.
Alonzo Mourning, yeah.
You had some Patrick Ewing.
Yes, Patrick Ewing. Absolutely.
There's a lot of great centers. We want to hear who your centers would have been. Who is on your Mount Rushmore of NBA centers? I'd love to hear some feedback on that. And you can go to our cheapseatsbar.com Facebook page and leave that for us. And that way we can kind of discuss that and see what we got on the next show, too. We always can talk about the previous shows and Mount Rushmores if we get any feedback. And we love to hear from you. And if you have a topic, you want to know a position, you want to hear what we want to know, what we think, let us know. And Sam, since we're both here, where should we go next? We've done NFL quarterbacks.
We have.
We've done Major League Baseball center fielders.
We have.
And we've done NBA centers. So should we go NHL goalies? That's a joke. It's a joke.
Yeah, I think we should probably stay in the sports we actually know. You know what I think? Here's what I think. How about we go Mount Rushmore of professional wrestlers?
Oh.
We could do that.
Now
there could be some surprises right there.
That, I think, is a great topic for the next show, and we can do that without a doubt. But I hope you have some research behind this and why.
I've lived it, man. I don't need to research. I know right.
Well, I know who number one is, and there's no question about it. So, I can tell you who's not going to make my list, and I'll tell you this right now. No, you know what? I'm not. I'm going to save it.
Absolutely.
I'm going to save it like I don't save hot dogs and hamburgers.
That's right.
Anyway, that's our Mount Rushmore today. Give us your feedback, cheapseatsbar.com Facebook page. You can visit cheapseatsbar.com for previous shows, or you can go into Apple iTunes or Google Play or Stitcher, or we've got all kinds of avenues for you to watch the Behind the Mic show from the Cheap Seat Sports Bar and Grill. Sammy, we're going to take a quick break. I know you're not going anywhere because coming up next, we've got Drew Ferris, former Florida Gator long snapper. Sammy is pumped. He's ready. Man. We're going to have a sit-down interview with him, part 1 of 2. With Drew, who is very knowledgeable, and I think people will enjoy getting to know Drew a little bit. So we'll be right back here on the Behind the Mic show from the Cheap Seats Sports Bar and Grill.
Check out the all-new Ford of Tuscola. It's a small-town feel with great big deals. Pre-owned vehicles starting at $24.95. Online at FordofTuscola.com or call 217-253-3353.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Behind the Mic show. Keith Gibson here from the Cheap Seat Sports Bar and Grill with my co-host, Sam Erwin, the great one, the 15-minute world heavyweight champion. We're going to join today by former Florida Gator long snapper, Drew Ferris, has been kind enough to join us. And, Drew, we're going to get to know you a little bit here in just a few minutes. And I know, Sam, you're excited. You are just giddy with all joy because we've got a Florida Gator on. But, Drew, welcome to the show. We appreciate you being here. And we're going to get to know you. You're out in San Diego, am I correct?
That's right. Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. And I'm out here in San Diego, California.
What's the weather like out there right now?
Really good. It's probably in the 70s right now. Sunny. Well, it's been rainy this winter. In the spring, we've had probably the wettest winter and spring in history of Southern California. So, it's had a lot of May gray, but and it's been rainy. But you know what? I can't complain because there's been plenty of sunny days, and it's beautiful out here.
Well, good. Well, we're glad you can join us. So you're not missing anything here in the Midwest, where there's tornadoes, heavy rains, and storms every other day, every other minute.
Lots of humidity. Yeah.
But Drew, Sam and I are glad you're here today. We're looking forward to this interview. We're going to do this in 2 parts, just to let everybody know out there listening to the show. We're going to do this in 2 parts. We're going to have the first part this week with Drew, and Drew's going to be nice enough to do another second part with us, our next show. So, Drew, we do appreciate that. And man, maybe you can come on and join us a lot more, too.
That'd be awesome. I'll look forward to it.
Yeah, maybe if you can put up with Erwin, we'll be all right.
Kidding me? Gator bait, baby. We're going to get along just fine.
Sam, you and Drew go back a little bit. I want you to tell everybody how you guys kind of met and where it goes from there.
Yeah, absolutely. It was just by chance through the magical world of Twitter. I was just scrolling through one day, and up popped the deal that Drew had put out there of, hey, need some followers and all that. And I see that he was a long snapper for the Gators. And sadly, in the football world, long snappers are not shown the appreciation that they should have. Their vital role in football. And I think I followed him and let him know that I followed him. And I said, hey, long snappers are people too. And, he really appreciated that. And we just got to, exchange messages back and forth. And I was just thrilled because, he was a Florida Gator at the time. And obviously I'm a huge fan and go down to games and go all over the place to watch games. So it was cool to connect. And that's kind of the good thing of Twitter is you can connect with, athletes and, famous people from time to time. There's some bad things to Twitter too, but this was a cool thing because now here we are. And that was, Lord, what was that, back in 2010, I think, 2011?
Yeah, 2010, 2011, something like that,
yeah. Yeah, so we've stayed
just a young pup, Erwin.
What's that?
You were just a young pup.
yeah, it's been a long time since I've been young, so we're long past that. But anyway, but no, it's been cool, and I've been able to follow, what he's been doing, and since college, and his NFL experiences and all that. So it's a cool way to kind of keep up with somebody and all that, and we stay in touch. Not a ton. I don't drive him nuts with questions or anything like that, but hitting.
Drew, you're a lucky man. You're a lucky man, Drew, that he doesn't do that to you.
Yeah, I'm not going to show up, even though I'd love to be in San Diego. I'm not going to show up on his doorstep like, hey, buddy, let's go get lunch. But still, he's always been a cool guy and, represented, Gator Nation very well. And it's just cool to get him on the show now. So he's agreed to that. And it's going to be a good interview because he's a good dude and he's a smart man. He's got a plan and all that. So it's going to be
Drew, you must be, I don't know what you paid Erwin to give you all those compliments, but he doesn't give me any of that any day of the week.
Yeah, right. Well, he's not on my payroll. I'll tell you, I don't really have anyone on my payroll right now. So Sam's a good guy, and it's been fun keeping in touch with him, and I'm really happy to be on the show.
And you know what? Keith, you'll enjoy this. During my research I did for this interview, which I know you're shocked, but
hold on. You actually did some work?
Yeah.
I'm proud of you.
I love these jabs. I love these jabs.
Yeah. But with my research, I found, the stats speak for themselves. So we'll go over that in a little bit. So the compliments are easy to give whenever you go through what he's done. So anyway, that's how I know him. And so basically give a background, played in high school, of course, once again in San Diego, played at the San Diego Jewish Academy. Not exactly known as a football powerhouse, I don't think.
No, it's not. It's funny because – no, it's not. I'm actually getting inducted into my high school athletic Hall of Fame on this Friday.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. I was the first male Division I athlete from my high school. So, yes, we are not known for athletics, but
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Very cool.
We keep asking our alma mater to put us in, and they won't. I don't get it.
I don't get it either. I'm stumped.
How many times I have to ask them to retire my number, and it doesn't happen, Keith Gibson. It's ridiculous, and I don't get it. But anyway, so, I guess they forget about you after 25 years. But also during your time there, you were an all-academic team 4 times, and that was from the San Diego Union Tribune. So apparently they do a very cool all-academic team. So all 4 years that you were there. So obviously, grades were very important to you. And then, of course, during that time, you attended the Chris Rubio Longsnapping. It was either an academy or camps that you would go to.
Yeah, the camps,
That's obviously what helped you for your next step because that got you ranked as a 5-star and 14th nationally as a long snapper. So that gets you some looks. So could you kind of go in depth a little bit about that?
Oh, Drew, Drew, before you go into that, Erwin, I'm pretty proud of you.
You get me on a good topic, you get me excited about it, I'm going all in, baby. So, you get me a Gator, and I'm going to do my job. So
Oh, that's awesome. But, so basically in high school, going to a really small high school, I didn't have the exposure of going to one of those powerhouse schools. So as a specialist, it's really important to go to these bigger camps where you get ranked and you get evaluated and you actually learn your skill. So through a friend, I found out about through these camps, Chris Rubio's camps, and just started going to them. And I was fortunate enough to work with them every other week. Actually, I had twice a month. I'd go and do lessons with them, and as well as those camps. And I just continue to work and get better. And I started out really, really, really not great at it, but it's one of those things. Once you know how to do it, it's really easy. So
right.
So that's how I got exposed, and that's how I got to Florida. Actually, is through his camps.
Right, absolutely.
Drew, one question: as a long snapper, do you use the old hand over hand and twist, or how do you snap it? I mean, is it just one handed?
No, no. Every long snapper does 2 hands, but there's drills to train you to do that. It's really awkward and weird at first, but once you get that sync down where your hands can spin the ball, it's really quite simple. It just takes a little bit of practice and for it to not feel so weird.
Well, I have really small hands. I really can't grip a football, and I think everybody knows that. So long snapping to me though was fun because I got to use 2 hands. So when I was in high school, they taught me how to do that. And, you spin it, and I actually can throw it over my head and snap it that way a lot better than I can throw it. Well, I got to take the tip and throw it that way. That's what she said. But I wondered if that was how you did it too, and kind of get the spin on it.
Yeah, you have to use you hold the ball in your dominant hand, just like you throw it overhand, like you're gonna throw a pass, and then you just bring it down in front of you on the ground, and then you use your left hand with more fingertips, and you use it to kind of fill in the rest of the ball, and you need to get both hands and both elbows through your lower body in order to get an accurate good snap, and then you have to use fingertips with your left hand to get that spin on the ball. So it's a combination of both your right and left hand to get the spin on it. But it looks a lot harder than it really is. It's not that difficult, especially if you have a really good football. It's not hard.
Mm.
But
Cool.
the hard part is blocking. You have to snap and block. That's what you have to do at the professional level. Rarely in college you do it, but it is required sometimes. But once you get that down, it's like shooting fish in a barrel. It's pretty simple, but it just takes some time to get good at it.
I was going to say, because when you snap, I mean, you're basically looking down between your legs, and then as soon as you snap it, you got to be popped up quick and ready to go, right?
Yeah, so you got exactly. So you have to trust your technique, and you have to trust the ball's going to get there, and then you got a lot of stuff going on in front of you, and there's lots of process. And when you get at the highest level, when you're playing against grown men, I mean, they're fast and physical, and so that's the least of your worries sometimes when you're in the NFL or the professional level. You got these big tunas that are rushing you, so. But it's fun and it's challenging, but it's just something that you got to be really disciplined at and work towards. You got to work hard, just like any position. It's just it's just a little less time consuming.
Right, absolutely. So obviously that long snapping, those camps and academies worked for you, because initially you enrolled at San Jose State University as a walk-on, but then later on, University of Florida came calling and offered you, as a preferred walk-on. So what made you decide to basically leave San Jose State and go all the way across the country to the University of Florida?
Yeah, that's a good question. I wanted to play somewhere big. Because going to a small high school, I wanted to be on the biggest stage. And, UF had a great combination of academics as well as obviously the athletics. So I wanted to go somewhere where I wouldn't be able to get into the university if I didn't play football. And that UF was by far my best option I had in those regards. So San Jose State, they came in and they offered me a preferred walk-on as well. And I just said, sure, I'll go. So I was enrolled as a student there my spring of my senior year. And then Florida came hollering like, I want to say about a month, 2 to 4 weeks later, something like that. They came into play, and because I didn't sign a scholarship, I wasn't bound to honor San Jose State. So, they were actually at the time they were under suspension from the NCAA. They lost scholarships. They were on like a 5-year ban, so they lost like a lot of scholarships, and they were getting some of them back every year. And my senior year was their last year, or that freshman year of fall was their last year of their ban. So they had like 80 scholarships. So they were down 5 that year. So they actually really couldn't offer me a scholarship, even if they wanted to. They just didn't have the numbers. And so most teams don't even offer kids out of high school anyways, but they just were down scholarships. So they told me, my scholarship was waiting for me after the season, and that I was, pretty much my job to lose. But UF, I knew I had to compete and go in there, but I just figured, this was a long-term decision for me, not just like a short term. So, I was able to because I wasn't UF's first option, first choice. So when they had the guy they wanted fall out, I was kind of next up in line. So through the camps and stuff like that. So in the ranking, so that's why I just hopped on the opportunity and don't regret it at all.
So Drew, I got a question for you. Sam said you came in as a preferred walk-on at Florida, correct? Can you explain to our listeners and all 17 of them? No, I'm kidding. But you can explain the difference between what a preferred walk-on is and what a walk-on is, please.
Absolutely. The only difference is getting how you get there. So a preferred walk-on means that the coach will go down to the admissions office, tell them to pass your application through and get you in, assuming you have, you know, the bare bones minimum on your high school resume. Like, you know, you don't need to have the same GPA and the same test scores, but they need to be somewhat decent. But basically, you don't have to go through the application process. They just pass you right through. A walk-on, a regular old walk-on, I won't say regular, but someone who's not preferred, they have to apply to the school and get in themselves, and they usually have to try out. So as a preferred walk-on, you show up day one and you have a locker and you don't have to try out, and you're already contractually or legally a member of the team. As a walk-on, you usually try out with a big group of guys, and either make it or you don't. And but once you're there, like once you're there, there is no difference. It's just kind of how you get there. It's not necessarily when you're there. If that makes sense.
Now, a walk-on now, if you aren't a preferred walk-on, let's say at the University of Florida, that's a very difficult school to get into. They have, like you said, very rigorous, high standards. So as a walk-on to get in, I mean, you would have to have an ACT score that is extremely high.
12.
And GPA.
Yeah. So, right.
You may have had one anyway, but for, you know.
Well, not high enough to get into UF, and so especially especially out of state, because they have bright futures and stuff, and they are, you know, 98% of the student body is from Florida, so you know, they want to honor those kids who've been paying bright futures. But yes, exactly. I didn't have bad grades, but I definitely didn't have UF grades to get in for sure. So it was just very, very fortunate everything worked out the way it did. And, you know, Florida's rich in tradition and history, which I guess I'm assuming we'll talk about, but it was a great experience.
Right. Now, is it true? I believe I saw this at one time.
Yes, I am the man.
What's that?
Yes, I am the man.
Well,
yeah, it's true.
That goes without saying. I mean, that goes without saying. But did you eventually, didn't they put you on scholarship at a certain point?
Yes, they did. Yeah, they did in 2012 at the end of that spring ball. They told me this is something a little bit about recruiting that I think all your listeners should know, especially about the difference between a preferred walk-on and a walk-on, and just the fact that when you get there, there's a kind of a difference between scholarship and a walk-on player. But what they told me, my coach told me, he said, as soon as you do punt and field goal, we'll put you on scholarship. That's what they told me. So they said you do two special teams, punt and field goal, you know, and you'll. So I did that. So I redshirted my first year. I played my second year. So that second fall was 2011. At the end of that second fall, that was my third semester on campus, not including summers. So, but University of Florida had a rule, an unwritten rule, that in their athletic department, that in order to be eligible for a scholarship, you had to have been in at the school for 4 semesters. But they didn't tell me that going in, because it's not a written rule. It's just the fact. It's just how they do things.
Right.
So at the end of that 2011 fall, I go up to my coach. I said, "Okay, where's my scholarship? I just did punt and field goal." And he goes, "Oh, we have to see about our numbers for the next recruiting class." And I was just like, "That's not, you know, I'm paying out of state tuition. Like, that's well, my family is like, that wasn't a part of the deal, man. Like you know." So I have, like, I'm not so bitter about that, but it was a little, and I'm definitely grateful to be on scholarship. But that's just something that people need to realize on the show, is that, or who are listening, is that it's not, there's things that people never hear about, you know, in terms of like walk-ons and scholarships and stuff that happens in college. But, you know, that was something that I experienced that I won't forget. But it was a tough lesson to learn, you know, as a 19-year-old kid, when you're told something and then it's like a business deal that goes bad, you know. It's like it's just interesting. But anyways, I did get put on scholarship that following spring. So after my 4th semester, I got put on scholarship. So it worked out in the end. I didn't have to leave or anything like that. But
and that had to be a huge relief financially to be put on scholarship, because out-of-state tuition to a place like University of Florida, I'm not even going to ask, because it's got to be awful. But to get on scholarship had to be a huge relief. So it was a gigantic relief. It was a very emotional day for me. And yes, it was, and just something I'm super grateful for and proud of myself that I did that. You know, obviously I had help and things fell in place, but
yeah, definitely grateful for everything that I was, had. And I don't want to say that I was ungrateful for, just, like I finally got on scholarship. That's not how I felt. But I had that hurdle essentially.
Right.
I had that hurdle that after that, during my first couple of years or after that first year I played. But anyways, people never hear about that stuff, and it does go on, and that's what people should realize.
Keith Gibson, do you see what's going on? We're getting the inside scoop.
We are. And before we move into Drew's career at Florida and what happened after that, moving on, we're going to stop you there, Drew. We're going to take a quick break in the first part of the interview for this week, and we'll come back and you can catch up and hear all about how Drew played at the University of Florida, was a Gator, and where he moved on from there and what all he did after that and what he's looking forward to now in his life. So we'll take a quick break here from our great sponsors. We have Bees Trees and Ford of Tuscola. We got a new sponsor, Sammy. Bees Trees.
Bees Trees?
Yeah, that's right. If you have trees that are outgrowing like I had,
right,
you need to trim them up a little bit, trim the bushes. You can do that, called Bees Trees.
Well, and especially with the way the weather's been, who better to call than Bees Trees?
Right, exactly.
Right?
So we're going to hear from our great sponsors. Be right back. Hey, Drew, I tell you what, we're going to do our Fast Five coming up. How would you like to join us for that?
Oh, I'd love to be a part of that. That sounds great.
Fantastic.
Oh, an honor.
Fantastic. Erwin, you're gone. See you later. Me and Drew got this. No, we'll be right back after a quick message here from the Behind the Mic Show, the Cheap Seats Sports Bar and Grill.
One tree or a dozen, large estate or small corner lot, whatever you call home. When you have trees that need professional care, that means calling Bees Trees. Greg Miller, owner and operator of Bees Trees, is an ISA certified arborist. Bees Trees offers tree removal, trimming, and free estimates. They're fully licensed and fully insured. Call Bees Trees today to find out how they can keep your trees healthy and thriving. Call 217-260-4551 to schedule an appointment with Bees Trees.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Cheap Seats Sports Bar and Grill. Keith Gibson, your host here for the Behind the Mic Show. With me, as always, my co-host, who is the guy who won't go away. I've tried, can't find anybody else, but I think I may have. Sam Erwin's here joining me as a co-host, and Drew Ferris is here with us, former Florida Gator long snapper from 2010 to 2014. Drew, we do appreciate you joining us for our interview the last couple of weeks, and Drew's going to join us here for the Fast Five this week. So, Drew, you're from San Diego, and I'm sure you're a huge Lakers fan, correct?
Correct.
All right. So let's talk about what the big dumpster fire the Lakers are. Because I'm the Lakers. I'm getting rid of LeBron. I'm starting fresh. Let's just start everything new because they're awful. You piss off Magic Johnson. You can't do that. That's Irvin Magic Johnson.
No, you know what? You win if you won the LeBron sweepstakes. You're not gonna just throw that away. I think
Clipper.
Be a Clipper. You know what? I think you just gotta build a team around him and let in LeBron we trust. I mean, that's what you have to do. I mean, he's proven over the last 10 years that he's going to make it to the finals pretty much every year. So just kind of do what he says. I mean, he's one of those players, and I think they knew that when they got him. That's kind of like what comes with the territory. But I mean, his contribution margin to a team on the court and off the court financially and everything is huge. Yeah, you don't just start from scratch with everybody. You just you roll with it. Just get the pieces in place and let's go. I mean, just all you got to do. Once you win, it solves everything.
That's
so
right.
Everyone stops talking about
Island profile.
Just
right.
Win. So just win, and the Lakers will do that again, and they will do it, and LeBron will get them right.
So, Erwin, I'll ask you, Sammy, will the Lakers make a big deal then? Here comes draft day with the number 4 pick in the draft. Do you think they're only going to make a move? Could it be for Anthony Davis, or are they going to try to do something with that 4th pick and get some more than talent back needed for LeBron?
Right. And actually, as listening to, several people, like Jalen Rose, he made a good point today, I think. He said, really Laker fans need to relax because, number one, you have LeBron. Number two, you've got a great young core. They really are. And once they've got a year under their belts now with dealing with the LeBron circus that comes with it, right? He demands a lot out of the players as well. But they've got that good core, and they, like you said, they got the 4th pick. They're going to have to, and they had a lot of 1-year contracts too, like Lance Stevenson and Rondo and all that. They could just let go and that opens up some cap room there to and they've got money to sign another big person. And after the finals, I think Charles Barkley said this. He said, this is going to be absolutely insane this summer, the moves you're going to be seeing. Hell, I just heard today the Houston Rockets, everybody is open to trade or cut except James Harden. I'm like, whoa, okay. So I think, and if you got to remember, when LeBron was healthy and he was playing with that team, they were 4th in the West and had just beaten Golden State badly. So it was going well. Then he got hurt. And then those young kids were like, oh, what now? And it went downhill. Then the trade rumor started with Anthony Davis. Let's trade the whole team. And they just fractured the whole team, and it just ended the season. So I think they'll be fine.
I'll ask both of you right now, this very minute, do you see them making the playoffs next year?
Absolutely.
I do. Absolutely.
Okay. Well,
I do.
There you have it. I'm going to tell you right now they don't.
Yep.
Well, hopefully we can pull up this show when they do, and we can rub it in your face.
Absolutely.
Wouldn't be the first time I was wrong.
Yeah.
I tell you, wouldn't win the
But you
Masters.
know what the Lakers need, Keith, before we move on? The Lakers need somebody to be in charge, somebody that calls the shots. I don't care if it's Jeannie Buss. I don't care if it's their new GM that was Kobe's, agent, all that. Bring in Kobe Bryant to call the shots. Somebody. I don't care who. Somebody's got to be in charge of that team, and everybody's got to know, because these free agents they're going to ask the same question, like, who's running this show? You know what? Yeah. So they got to know what's going on. So somebody take the reins and be the leader.
Speaking of the NBA playoffs, wrapping up right now, you're in the NBA Finals, Golden State and Portland. We talked about it last show. Golden State just right through that. And now you've got Golden State and the Raptors when Kawhi Leonard is playing out his wazoo. Maybe one of the best performances I've seen in NBA playoffs in history. But is it enough to get past? It's a pretty impressive.
It's good. It's good. Yeah,
I'm not saying it's top one, but I'm saying it's a pretty good one.
He's awesome.
But is it enough to get past Golden State? I'm going to tell you no.
Mm-hmm.
I think they'll push them, but I think Golden State ends up winning another title. Gentlemen, what's your take on that?
It's going to take more than an individual performance to beat Golden State. You need not just 5 guys, you need like 8 to 9 to 10 contributing players to beat a team like Golden State to keep up with them. So I do not see Toronto actually doing any real damage to Golden State as they're on their way of just annihilating the league. So no, I don't. I could see it being like a 3-1. 3-1. I think Toronto maybe wins a game, I guess. I don't see this as a competitive series. I don't think Toronto has a good enough team to kind of hang with the tempo of Golden State.
Agreed.
So that's, I don't know. Kawhi will have a night, I'm sure, but I didn't watch those last few games against Milwaukee. But I just don't think it will be enough. It won't be enough to beat Golden State.
No, I agree with you there, Sammy.
Yeah, I mean, Golden State's so loaded. But I will say this: if you remember, it's been
like
a couple
my
years
guns.
Ago. Yeah, but if you remember a couple years ago when Kawhi was with the Spurs were up by like 25, and then that cheap shot basically where the guy ran up from Golden State and put his foot up under where Kawhi landed on it, and he rolled his ankle. They had him. Now, granted, the Spurs were probably better than who he's playing with the Raptors, possibly. Maybe not, but they might have been. But that changed the whole series because once they took Kawhi out, it was over. It's one of the cheapest plays I've seen in a long time. So Kawhi has no issue playing against Golden State. I think he'll be just fine. He will lock down either Steph or Clay or someone like that. And if you can limit those, then, you got to watch out for Draymond because
There's too many weapons. Too many weapons.
Exactly.
Here's where Toronto maybe has a chance. If they don't steal one of the first 2 games when Kevin Durant's still out, because he's not playing in game 1, they said, so Kevin Durant's still out, that gives them a chance. Will they win the series? Probably not. They just don't have it. Nobody has enough firepower to compete with Golden State. I hope so. I'd really like to see that. And Kawhi's phenomenal, but he's going to have a lot of help. And, does he have that with Toronto? I'm not so sure.
All right, moving on, Drew. I think this is one you're going to have a great insight to, and that's the talk of college athletes getting paid for their likenesses, paid for being in video games, being paid, period. As a former college athlete, this is one big question I have for you, and I know this may take a couple extra minutes here, the Fast Five, but I'm okay with that, and Erwin, I think you are too. What's your take on that? I mean, as a college student athlete, it's got to be tough going 12 hours, especially during the season, 12 to 15 hours during the day, and then, you can't work. So how do you survive?
Right. You can't work. You really can't. Only certain times of the year you can. But I absolutely believe that student athletes should be able to get paid for their likeness. If Johnny Manziel if someone wants to buy his autograph for sign something, he should be able to get money for that. But no one's going to pay money for my autographs, which is fine. So I won't get paid.
I might.
Yeah. Okay. Well, something
you.
substantial. Right. Yeah. Right. But anyways, my point is that yes, if for their likeness on an individual basis, absolutely should. On a scale of like getting paid from the NCAA, I believe yes, but only to a certain extent. Like, I don't know how much we're talking about paying players, but like they definitely shouldn't get paid like NFL salaries or anything like that, but they should be getting supplemented anywhere between, $5,000 to $7,000, maybe $10,000 a year. But I don't think it should be all athletes. I mean, if the baseball team at UF isn't profiting, isn't bringing in a profit, then they shouldn't get paid. I mean, it's just whatever the market demands, then they should get paid for that. So I don't think they should get ridiculous salaries, like something crazy, but they should be getting between $5,000 and $10,000 a year, which they're starting to get now. Cost of attendance, they should. But like college basketball players who make the tournament, I mean, those guys should get rewarded heavily for the NCAA steals billions off of that thing. So
yes, they do.
They do. So I believe college athletes should profit, and I don't see a problem with it. And I also don't see a problem with the only athletes that are profiting are the ones who are actually producing profit. So that's what I think.
So women's volleyball should not get paid, is what you're saying?
Yes, I don't believe they should get paid because it's what the market demands. It's what the market yields, and I don't think we should interfere with that.
I will agree with you to an extent. I think every student athlete should get paid something. I think the ones who bring in the more profits, the men's basketball, the men's football, things like that, should get a higher stipend. But I do think every athlete should get paid.
Especially because some of these coaches' salaries are ridiculous.
Right.
I agree. So I don't have a problem with like women's volleyball players like getting paid. I don't see a problem with that because I'm not saying they shouldn't, but maybe the ones who yield a higher profit should get more. But to say that they all have to get the same, but the NCAA makes a big joke about, they say, oh, it's an amateur. We want to keep it amateur, but there's nothing amateur about playing in college. Anyways, when you're playing in front of 90,000 people in the stands and millions on TV, so they shouldn't get paid like amateurs.
Did you say millions?
And millions. That's right.
Yes,
millions on TV. Yeah. So I mean, and like I said, I'm not against those women's soccer players getting a little bit of money either, but the cream cheese isn't being spread evenly on the bagel. That's for sure.
Ooh,
I like that.
Yeah, I like that. And
I like some bagels too.
Yeah, and I had read somewhere that, and maybe it was Florida, it could be any university really, that the men's basketball team and the football team is the only two sports that were actually profitable, and they made enough to where it basically allowed the university to have all the rest of the sports. So that was the only two sports on campus that made money. So
true, but these coaches' salaries I think are a little ridiculous, and I also think that what was I about to say? That they just the money's there. The money's there. Here's what I was gonna say. Sorry, I have a lot to say on this topic because I've experienced a lot, but the university's football programs and athletic programs, they get new facilities like every 5 to 10 years, and a lot of the money gets they say we have no money, but they're updating their facilities, they're overpaying salary academic advisors and people that work in athletics, they're overpaying everyone around, right? They're overpaying everybody in the athletics to say, oh, there's no money for student athletes, but there is. They're just everybody, they're just using the system and they're abusing the system, and the money's there, but it's just being put in different places. So when they look at their operating budget, they go, oh, we had to spend all this money to make this, but it's like, no, you didn't have to spend it. You just chose to spend it, so you guys don't look like assholes when you profit, $50 million. So
Bingo.
it's just
well said.
Yeah, it's very shady, and it's a bad example to our student athletes in college, and the money's there. It's definitely there. They could definitely pay all athletes, but schools like Toledo and Bowling Green, they're not going to probably have that same type of margin either, but still, the money's there.
Bowling Green, the best Brown school I've ever seen.
Yeah. And I believe Nick Saban's making what, $8 or $9 million a year?
Way too much.
Yeah,
Now, granted,
something.
he wins, of course, but man, that's a lot of money.
You know what? You know who else wins, Sam Erwin? My wife. She wins every day.
Boy, you know what? Maybe we should bring her and ask her the same question if she feels like a winner.
All right, moving on. The big topic right now going around the NCAA is the NCAA Transfer Portal, which has become a running joke because they're letting some kids move, some kids not. And, of course, it all goes back to the same group, the NCAA, which is a joke in my mind because it's ran poorly, it's not handled well, and they're making millions and millions, even possibly billions of dollars off student athletes who are not seeing a dime from anywhere, but there's no structure either. And this transfer portal, I think, in my mind, has to stop. Either you let all kids transfer once, or you don't transfer at all. So that's my take on it. Drew, as a former college athlete in a Division I major university in the SEC, what's your take on that?
I have a different take on it. I don't mind if guys transfer for a couple reasons. One, if you get recruited to University of Illinois, right? And Illinois, all of a sudden, a student athlete gets there, and it's nothing what the coaches, quote unquote, said it would be or promised it would be. The opportunity isn't there. They're buried on the depth chart, or it's just something that they're like, you know what, this isn't for me. I want to leave, right? I don't think you should punish a kid who's 18 years old who made the wrong decision on going to a university or anything like that. So if a kid wants to go play somewhere else, I have no problem with that. And especially, like, look at coaches. Coaches can get fired from somewhere and then they could go coach somewhere else the next year and they don't have to sit out, So I think you should just let them go wherever they want, let them transfer. Yeah, turn it into like an NFL free agency, really, or whatnot, or a sweepstakes. I don't really care. I'm impartial to it. I'm more on the student athlete side because I see guys go into schools all the time and the opportunity, they say they're going to get reps in training camp and then they don't, or whatever. So there's just a lot of reasons for them to transfer, and a lot of them are good reasons. So I don't really mind if they do.
So from a student athlete standpoint, when you were there at UF, and I mean, it's not UF, so I don't want to put everything on UF. But when you were there, did you see a lot of that? A lot of kids who were promised the moon, the stars, and everything, and that's not what they got, and kind of got homesick and wanted out quickly?
Yeah, I saw a little bit of everything. I mean, I saw student athletes that were, or football players on my team that were in the wrong for transferring. They just were being a baby about it, or they just didn't take advantage of the opportunity, or they just, weren't going to class, or they just smoking too much weed or whatever.
That never happens in college,
right? Never, right? So, I saw both, and that's most of the time, I guess. You see guys transfer for those reasons, but transferring is not just a good thing for student athletes. It's sometimes it's a good thing for the universities, because here's what happens a lot of times is, like, after spring ball's over, a coach will have these exit meetings with these players, right? And they'll be like, hey, I really think you should look into transferring because you're not going to play here. Or, I've had one of my good buddies was asked to transfer by our position coach, but he didn't want to, because they just told him, like, hey, you're just not going to play here. So sometimes it's good for, guys, it's good for players just to and coaches are like, sometimes it's just not a good, sometimes you get married and it doesn't work out. So you got to get a divorce. So, so I don't know. I'm for it. I'm for the players. Let them have rights. Let them go wherever they want. I don't really care. I'm for them.
Sam, it's good to hear from a student athlete's perspective. I'm for it, just to keep it at a minimum. I don't think you can do it every year. I think there's got to be a limit on it. Sam, I don't know what your take is on it. Nobody really cares either. So, I mean, no, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
I like what you said. I like what you said, actually. Believe it or not, I'm agreeing with you. That, you know what, I think everybody ought to have because like Drew said, a coach can leave whatever he wants, no penalty. He can start coaching next year. He's good, and he gets paid. But these kids, and sometimes you're sold, a lemon deal, right?
Right.
You think
I agree.
It's going to be gold when you get there, and boy, it is not what they said it was. And they'll say anything to you.
Like hiring a co-host.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they'll say anything to get you there, but then when you get there, you realize here's what it's really like. And it isn't what you thought, and you're maybe halfway across the country from your family, whatever the case may be. Or if you have a family problem, you got to get back home. But like you said, Keith, I kind of agree. Maybe once, and then that's it. You get a one chance to transfer, and that's it. Now, obviously there could be some exceptions to that if, like, a family issue like health problems or something like that. But they just had a kid that I believe committed to USC and was there, transfer portal to Texas, and then like 6 weeks later, transfer portal again back to USC. Just bang, 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 bang. And I'm like, dude, make up and I get it, 18-year-old kid. Heck, did you have your mind made up when you were 18? Probably not. So you got to take that into consideration. But I think there's got to be something done because it's just turned into NFL free agency is what it's done.
Yeah, I mean, and you know what? I think what they should do to combat that is just make it so if you enter maybe you can only enter the transfer portal twice in your career or once in your career, or maybe not that. Maybe they just do something like, well, okay, once you enter the transfer portal, there's a 365-day period where you cannot enter back in. So you can do it like once a year, I guess, or whatnot. But I don't mind these players kind of changing colors and stuff because, like fans are really loyal to the universities, but coaches and players, those guys rotate and change all the time. But whether they graduate and move on or they get fired or transfer. So I don't really mind the movement. Yes, ideally I'd rather no one transfer because it's like it makes it better. That's what makes college football so great. But these are young kids and sometimes they don't make the right decisions the first time right away. So I don't know. Maybe it's got to be looked on like an individual basis, but.
Well, and like you said, Drew, as you've been through it, maybe this will also mean that coaches were going to have to be honest from start to finish. That way the kid fully understands what he's getting ready to get into.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's
maybe
a great
it'll
point.
Stop all that salesman stuff and actually just be honest with the kid, which is what they should be anyway, because this kid is leaving his family, and the family should be able to trust the coach as well. As what you're telling my kid is 100% truth.
Absolutely, because it gives a little more leverage to players and more accountability to coaches. Absolutely. So whatever is going to help the player out more, I mean, I'll do that. And it's what sometimes coaches say, hey, look, come to, and the coaches could also tell players, hey, come to UF, come battle it out. If you don't win the job, you can transfer, but we want you to come compete for it. And that maybe that'll be the recruiting pitches now, and it's like, hey, here's an extended tryout. Come try to win the job, and we want you to be the guy, and then the coaches can be more transparent too, I guess. But I don't know. It's just like it's so competitive now, and if you're not playing, let these players go out and play somewhere and make a name for themselves because you only got really one shot to make it to the pros in their shoes. So you got to look at they're using college as a stepping stone to get their best chance to go pro. That's kind of how they're looking at it. So that's just how it is.
Well, we talked about the NCAA and kind of went a little over our fast 3 minutes.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Let's move on quickly. And our last topic of the Fast Five this week is a startup. Drew, you will learn later on. Were played professionally in football, but the XFL, Vince McMahon and NBC have teamed up once again to try to bring it back 20 years later. I don't know. On this topic, I really don't know because McMahon's an idiot. He can't even run wrestling right now. He's an egotistical maniac. He couldn't do the XFL right the first time. He's not going to do it right this time. It's going to fail because you're going up against a multi-billion-dollar company in the NFL. And if you think you're going to take shares from that, you're wrong. So this is going to fail. Period.
Oh.
Period.
Oh. Wow. Drew, your thoughts on that?
You know what? I don't want to disagree with you because you might be right. I think it can succeed.
I know I'm right.
Yeah. History
That's
says that.
That's a haircut like that.
history has shown that they all will fail, but they have the money for it. You know what? I also heard recently that the XFL bought for pennies on the dollar. They bought like resources from the AAF in terms of like computers and video equipment and jug machines and all this stuff from the AAF they bought for pennies on the dollar. So which is kind of funny to me, but I think you know what I think it can work. I kind of agree with you. I think it will fail at some point, and it'll be due to or unless they're not patient with it. Like if they're patient and they'll take losses for the first 5 to 10 years, then they can work because it's going to take time for people to.
Yeah, not a fan of losing money. Yeah, even though he's done it before.
No, well, I mean, if he expects to be profitable his first year, I think he's kind of in for something because he probably won't.
Yeah, well, Drew, and of course, this will be in an interview we'll do later on as we talk about your professional career. You mentioned the AAF, which you played in, and we'll get more into that down the road. But your experiences in the AAF, what you saw there, and of course the league folded. It didn't even make it through a full season.
8 weeks.
What do you think? Yeah, what do you think the XFL can do to be successful? What can they learn from the AAF that will actually make them profitable and be able to stick around? What do you think they can do that the AAF didn't?
Nothing.
Well, yeah, I mean, Keith's got a good point. I mean, nothing. But I mean, if I had to pick something that they could do, I think it's just a patience thing, because a lot of this football is as you guys know, a very traditional sport. Like there's a lot of tradition and culture and history in football. And when you're starting a new league, none of these teams have any of that. They don't have former players, right? They don't have former players, and they don't have like past championships. So there's no substance there. So they have to just be patient in building that. And if they're not patient, then it will fail. And that's what it is.
Here's why I think it will fail. Monday night, what do you have? Monday Night Football.
Mm-hmm.
Your only nights you really have, you have Thursday Night Football. You have Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Really the only nights you can go prime time and get millions of eyes on your product.
Mm-hmm.
Tuesday nights, nobody's going to watch, and Wednesday night's church night.
Right.
Tuesday night, everybody's burnt out from Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Well, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. And you can do Friday, but that's high school football. And then
XFL is in
California.
It's just XFL is not in the fall though. That XFL is in February, starts in February.
Ah.
So then you got baseball. You got
right.
training.
Of course.
And college basketball. It's just I'm not sure. That's my one thing. I'm not sure there's a time frame you can do it where it makes sense. I think once the Super Bowl's over, people are kind of burnt out on football, and they need that break. That's my take. That's all that matters.
Well, yeah. Well, maybe some people need a break. I mean, with the AAF, there was a lot of people that were into it, especially the cities that didn't have professional football teams. I mean, people were definitely into it.
I actually watched the AAF. I thought it was good football.
It was good. That's the sad part. It was good football. So
it's good football, and it was only going to get better. And here's the thing: a lot as an athlete, and sometimes you don't even get the best players out. Like the AAF didn't even have the best players because a lot of times those guys who are kind of in the fringe of in the NFL, at the NFL, like 1 foot in, 1 foot out, guys who are on practice squads or maybe played a couple regular season games. Those guys they usually don't sign with a spring league or whatever because they're afraid it will fail and they don't want to put themselves out of contention for the NFL. So like, with the XFL, there's going to be players, especially now the AAF that's folded, there's going to be players that are hesitant in joining the XFL, really good players because that don't need the money, that, but there's plenty of players out there, and
He hate me.
yeah, right. He hate me. I'm kind of excited to see what happens with the XFL. I'm hoping it lasts, but I kind of agree with you. I think it will fail eventually.
Well, gentlemen, I appreciate that's our Fast Five for the day. We talked about a lot of topics, talked about some great things, the Lakers, NBA Finals, the NCAA, and what a cluster it is. And we also talked about the XFL. Drew, Sam and I want to thank you for joining us for this show, and we look forward to the second part of the interview next week with you as well. And what a fun show this had, Sammy.
Yeah. You know what? When you give me the opportunity, look at the guests I bring. Look at the quality that I bring to this show. Do we get this guy? And I mean, it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. He might become a full-time host. Who knows? He might take over. I don't know.
God knows he's better than you.
Yeah,
I'm kidding. If you can't tell, we like to have fun. We thank our listeners for this. We want to thank our sponsors, of course, our presenting sponsor, Ford of Tuscola. If you're looking for a new car truck, pre-owned or new car truck or SUV, go see Bob, John, and Doug down there. The entire service staff is great people. I got my vehicles from there. Sam's bought his from there. Drew, we can hook you up. We know a guy.
That's right.
We know a guy. But they're great guys down there. So if you're needing an oil change, tires, anything, or even new or pre-owned vehicle, go see those guys. We want to thank our newest sponsor, Bees Trees, Greg Miller and his crew. If you need some bushes trimmed or trees trimmed, give Greg a call or find it on his website or his Facebook page, Bees Trees, and we appreciate them sponsoring the show as well. So, by
the way, just a helpful tip to everybody is if you keep your bushes trimmed, it makes your deck look bigger. So just remember that.
That's right. That's right.
Good point.
That's a great point, Sam Erwin. And you've done Sam Erwin, you have done research today. You've actually done something valuable to this show.
I have. I'm growing.
You're like a flower. You're blossoming.
Yeah. If people follow along from the start of this show to
where
we're at now, it's just like watching, like you said, a beautiful flower start to really, like a butterfly coming out of a cocoon almost, to just flapping, just get ready to take flight. It's magical. Yeah, absolutely.
Magical. I agree.
Ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank you for joining the Behind the Mic show for Drew Ferris and Sam Erwin. I am your host, Keith Gibson. Have a great week, everybody. God bless. This is the Behind the Mic show from the Cheap Seats Sports Bar and Grill.
Bees Trees, your local ISA certified arborist with over 10 years experience, specializing in tree removal, tree trimming, and with free estimates. Call Greg Miller of Bees Trees today at 217-260-4551.